Welcome to Armenian Alliance Conversations. I'm Manyak Sakian. My guest today is Patil Toutounjian. She's the creator of a YouTube channel called The Armenian Traveler and the founder of Tatik Streetwear. Tatik Streetwear showcases the work of Armenian designers who create designs with Armenian themes for clothing. Ms. Toutounjian creates videos in Armenia and in Armenian communities around the world. She has used her videos to promote the good work of Armenian organizations such as Bright Armenia, One Armenia, and Hike Armenia. She's also dedicated to freely promoting interesting Armenian businesses and highlighting the work of Armenians who are doing amazing things in Armenia and other countries. Patil Toutounjian studied social science at the University of Toronto. She graduated from Seneca College of Applied Arts and Technology with an advanced degree in marketing. She worked in marketing positions for various companies before she volunteered for Birthright Armenia in 2019. She founded Tatik Streetwear in 2020. Since her YouTube channel began in January 2021, Ms. Toutounjian has produced 162 videos, which have more than 340,000 views. Ms. Toutounjian is also a serious chess player. Patil, welcome and thank you for joining us today.
It's my absolute pleasure. I love this intro.
Please tell us about your Armenian heritage and the Armenian communities that you relate to.
So, I personally was born and raised in Aleppo, Syria. So, there is a huge Armenian community there, a very strong one. And my whole life, I grew up in that community, in a sense, kind of in a bubble in Aleppo. So, I went to an Armenian school. I went to Armenian, you mentioned chess. So, I played for an Armenian team, and everything I did was with the Armenian community. My family and I actually immigrated to Canada in 2011, actually about 10 years ago. Well, not 11 years ago. And it was interesting for me because I found out that being in Canada, being Armenian, is it looks very different than being Armenian in Syria, because it almost felt like I got to be Armenian on the weekends, and during Christmas and during celebrations and during holidays, because I got there when I was 17, so it was already the age where you're looking for employment, the university and college. So it wasn't necessarily as in a bubble as it was in Syria, which is what kind of really opened up my eyes after living there for 10 years and working and studying, that I didn't realize initially that change. I mean, I felt it. I just didn't know what it was. I couldn't put my finger on it. When you're immigrating to a new country, you have different priorities that you're focusing on in more survival mode, in a sense. So at one point, when I was kind of more comfortable, I opened up my eyes and I knew I wasn't feeling as fulfilled as I used to. And I really started digging into what was the reason for it. So that's when I realized, maybe because I don't get to be Armenian every day as much as I did back home in Syria. So I realized that every single time I said my name to my coworkers or my last name, the next question would be, "Oh, what's that name? In what language is that? What's your background?" And you kind of become, in a way, an ambassador to being Armenian, and you carry that weight of telling the story of what it means to be Armenian. And why are you Armenian but you're born and raised in Syria? Because all my coworkers thought I was Syrian from Syria, which is factually accurate and correct, but I'm also Armenian. So that's when I kind of started doing a bit of a soul searching, let's call it, and really felt like I needed to change course correct, in a way. So I was doing some research into how can I do that, and that's when the Birthright Armenia opportunity came.
You immigrated from Aleppo, Syria in 2011 with your family. And then, as we all know, in March 2011, there was a brutal war in Syria, and it's still going on after 12 years. It is a civil war. And the UN Refugee Agency reported in May 2002 that there are more than 6.5 million Syrians who left the country because of the war, and among these refugees are thousands of Armenians. So, did you and your family leave Syria because of the war?
So it was definitely something that we had plans for beforehand. I think that the war kind of rushed it towards the end, that we kind of didn't finish up some projects that we wanted to before leaving, but we had everything kind of planned for before it had started. So we were in that sense blessed to have that opportunity. And I know many Armenians have followed after. And you noticed that difference when I was back there in October, November of this past year. You noticed the difference of the numbers, sheer numbers, let's say, in the Armenian community. But I was still glad to see the survival and the thriving of the Armenian community in many cases, actually. But it's definitely a tough situation.
So you mentioned Birthright Armenia, and you said that the experiences that you had in Canada led you to Birthright Armenia. And I think Birthright Armenia is a fantastic organization that has the potential to actually change the lives of younger Armenians in the diaspora, because all of the Birthright Armenia alumni that I have spoken to say that their relationship to Armenia has changed entirely after joining Birthright Armenia. So if you could tell us little bit more about your experiences in Birthright Armenia.
Yeah, it actually, that statement is absolutely correct. I think it changes your relationship to Armenia and your relationship to your own Armenianness in multiple ways. So I'll kind of try to explain it in words. And I think that's why I do many, many, many videos with Birthright Armenia, because one kind of sentence or one video isn't enough to explain what that looks like. So for me, on a personal level, it did a few things. It allowed me to be Armenian in my day to day life. So I kind of put that ambassadorship to a side and really discovered who I am, and what is my relationship with myself and my relationship with the people around me, without having that kind of waiting for the holiday to be Armenian, or waiting for the. So that kind of was one aspect to it. On another level, it really allows you. I've never lived in Armenia before doing Birthright Armenia. So that was, I've been here before. I've done the whole like typical 2 week going to Khorvirap type of trip with my family, but when I was very, very young. So I just remember pictures. I never really lived an adult life in Armenia. So coming here and really just doing the day to day things like grocery shoppings, going to work, you're really immersing yourself and integrating into the day to day life of Armenia, which allows you to see Armenia with the lens of, this is a real country with real everyday lives. With, you hear this thing everybody says, like, oh, everybody is Armenian in Armenia, because when you're coming from the diaspora, that could be a new concept to you. Like, what does it mean to be surrounded by Armenians? So you really kind of put on a different hat, and you start defining what is the work you do on day-to-day basis, and how does that impact the country. Because when you're working, so when I had, let's say, my marketing job in Canada, I was making an impact in a company every day. Here, every work you do impacts the entire country, and you feel very much a different sense of fulfillment. And with Birthright specifically, it opens the doors for you to enter homes and workplaces and different, aspects of the country that, if you come as a tourist, you just simply wouldn't do these things. You wouldn't go to someone's home to have a family dinner, the homestay aspect of it, the job site aspect of it. For me, I also kind of tried to do a bit of a career change when I came here, which allowed me to finally try it out and see. I thought, what about teaching? Do I like teaching? But in other countries, it's hard to kind of change the trajectory of your career in that very, very flexible way. So here I got the opportunity to do that, and I tried out teaching for 2 months, and I said, you know what, it's not for me. I miss marketing. Let's go back into marketing. And literally the next week, I was at a different job site at a marketing agency doing marketing. So it really allows you to discover yourself, and discover the country in multiple different levels and layers, I guess.
You said exactly what I have said before about Birthright Armenia, that it allows you to basically experience Armenia in the real way that people are living their lives. Also, another thing I want to mention, that you said that you do many videos with Birthright Armenia as an alumni. It's fantastic because the organization kind of opens the door for you to have a lifetime relationship with them, as opposed to participating in a program and saying, "Oh, that's good," and then, you know, the next group of people comes along. So it becomes like a community, a kind of, and also like a networking group. You know, I've seen some of the videos that you've done with Birthright Armenia members, and I'm like, wow, you know, what a fantastic networking group this is, because the people who join Birthright Armenia are absolutely fantastic people.
I'll take it. I'll take the compliment. It's interesting because there is an interview process and there is, kind of an application process, just like any other organization or program that you're applying to. At the end of the day, when Birthright is accepting you as a volunteer, there's a lot of, opportunities that they're opening up for you. They're vouching for you to go to this job site and be an employee. So you're kind of passing through all those like references that you would need when you're applying for a job. They're applying for that job for you, and by job I mean it's a job site, it's a volunteer work. They're providing you with a host family. They're putting you into someone's home, and so there's a lot of aspects to it. And one more thing I forgot to say, um a lot of people ask me, I'm afraid of being by myself when I come to Armenia, like how would you make this change? And doing it through Birthright Armenia, instantly the second you land, there's someone that picks you up from the airport. The next day you're at orientation in the office and you already are with a group, and the people that you do orientation with you have a different bond with, but you end up bonding with everybody. And it also allows you to see Armenians from around the world. Like in my group I had an Armenian from Japan, an Armenian from Dubai, Lebanon, Argentina. Where else in my life I would have met someone from an Armenian from Argentina, unless I go to Argentina and meet someone from there. So this really opens your eye to the different dimensions of Armenians that we have around the world, and kind of like widens your perspective in a positive way.
Absolutely right. And that's something else that people have mentioned before as one of the positive aspects of these organizations taking young people to Armenia is you have all these different Armenians from different Armenian communities gathering in one place. And I mean, it's amazing.
Absolutely.
You started Tatik Streetwear before you started your YouTube channel. What is Tatik Streetwear, or Tadik as you say? And
Mhm.
what inspired you to create a clothing company that is operating with independent designers?
Yeah, so actually it's interesting because both Dadik, I say Dadik because I speak Western Armenian, which I also find very interesting in my videos when I say a word in Western Armenian. This is the beauty of our diversity too, right? So when I both of those platforms or both of those ideas or projects kind of started on the same premise. So in March of 2020, I was just going to Canada to visit my family, leaving Armenia just on a vacation, and then everything ended up happening, the world shuts down. And that's when I kind of, when we started realizing that this is not a week thing or a 2 week thing like we thought it might be. I started thinking, what should I be doing? Because at that point we were working remotely. Later on the offices opened up in Armenia, so I actually worked for Birthright Armenia after being a volunteer. So that's the job I was doing remotely for Armenia. When I realized that, I still don't know when I'm going to be able to get on a flight and go back. I thought to myself, it's best for someone in Armenia to have this job. And it kind of felt reversed and weird to be, having a job from Armenia and taking a position away from someone who is living here. And also, the type of impact you make by being here is different than remotely doing the job. So that's when I said, okay, I need to kind of give this position up to someone else and then see what I could be doing. The thought of me maybe going back to a job in Canada again, or maybe to my previous life, kind of was not, it didn't feel right to me. So I thought, what is a way for me to continue being Armenian every day, work with Armenians every day. And also the whole idea of putting the designs on streetwear that you wear on your day-to-day life, kind of reinforcing the fact that it's not either you wear the full-on formal daras or you can't wear something that has an Armenian, splash on it, right? So that's where I met a lot of those designers and artists in Armenia. And these artists, they have other full-time jobs, as whether it's as graphic designers, some of them are architects, and they don't have necessarily the time and the capacity to work on the business side of things. They want to create. So I said, you know what? I don't know how to create. I know how to do the business part of things. So let's team up. And it started with one artist, the second artist, and that's how it turned into kind of my full focus of this is what I'm doing now. And this is what I do. And it grew. The community just kept growing. And now there's a lot of different Armenian artists from a lot of different countries, which is the whole premise of I try to have that idea in everything I do and have different Armenian voices expressing themselves from different places in the world in every project that I do.
I think Tatik Streetwear is so fantastic because when you go on the website, it's sort of like mini collections in a way, because you see that these particular pieces were designed by this particular artist, and then those particular pieces were designed by another artist. So it kind of gives you the sense of this is almost like a work of art. You're not buying clothing from like an anonymous brand and they have many anonymous people, designing things. You know who they are, and you're actually buying a work of art, and it's on a t-shirt and it's wearable. So and it's great because isn't it better to have art that you sort of utilized every day as opposed to something that goes on the wall, if you know what I mean?
And that's what I kind of say, kind of like a wearable art piece. And it's very important for me, that aspect of it, that every artist gets a collection page. So I have a lot of customers who come in that are a follower of that artist specifically. They're a fan of their work. They just, maybe they already have a poster of them, but they want to wear something that on their day-to-day, in their day-to-day life. And that's why it's important for me. And then you have the cross recognition in a sense as well, because they have this artist that they follow, so they come onto the website, but then they find this other artist that has a similar style that they enjoy, and they read their bio and they like their work, and they say, you know what, I do want to support this artist. And most of the orders that come in actually have a combination of the different artists, which makes me very happy, because that's the whole point of it, is bringing them into one place. And a lot of times people talk about the fact that these pieces become conversation starters in their workplace or wherever they go. And especially during the war, we did this huge donation campaign where we had about 60 artists just joining in and donating their artwork, just to kind of get the word out there. And it wasn't just about the financial donation part of it, but it was also the fact that people were wearing these in on there, because at the time people were still doing conferences on Zoom, and like going to work or working from home or whatever the case may be. And a lot of times people were asking them, what does your t-shirt say, what does this represent? And that was becoming an awareness piece as well, which was also important, and I think it still is important.
As you mentioned, Tatik Streetwear has raised money for Armenian causes. Please tell us more about that.
So as soon as the war started, what we actually did is we just turned the entire platform into a donation and awareness platform. At that point, like it, that was the very important, the most important thing for us. So every 100% of everything that was in that donation collection, which had over 60 artists, was getting donated. So over $80,000 was donated. And again, it wasn't just about the amount, and it's a one person operation. I try to do my best. It's a very small platform, and I know the impact. Everybody was trying to do their impact as much as within their capacity. So that's why I kind of also think about the fact, the unity that it brought us together. And I got to meet all these people in different communities that otherwise maybe I haven't met. And we were talking with each other, and we're trying to come up with every single way to make a larger noise and tell people about what was going on and make an impact in terms of sending funds to Armenia and Artsakh. So I think that's kind of it. At that point, everything else stopped, and that was kind of the main focus that we were going on. And I say we because yes, it's just me when it comes to the business side of things, but it was the artists that were every day I was waking up, there's 5 6 more designs being donated, and I'm rushing into putting everything into production and getting them out, and just to make things go as quickly as possible.
I think that's wonderful. If everyone does their part, as they say, it makes a huge impact collectively.
I agree. Yep.
Your YouTube channel does not really make any money, and you don't expect it to make a significant amount of money. Most people who have never produced videos do not realize how much time and effort it takes to shoot and edit a video.
Thank you.
So, yes, it's true. So, why did you start a YouTube channel, and how did the content of the channel evolve from the earliest videos to today?
Yeah, so actually there's like lots of different stages that the YouTube channel went through, which is interesting because I sometimes forget because you're to your point, it takes so much time and you're so consumed. For now, I try to do 1 to 2 videos a week, two in special occasions when there's like a two episode special or something like that. I also try to do lives on the channel because I think it's important to also kind of have the community together talking in the live chat and asking me questions and seeing my surroundings in real time. A lot of times people don't realize that a video that is being posted has only been shot a week ago. It's not like an old video or anything like that. So in that sense, okay, so the even initial early stages of why I even opened the YouTube channel was because my Instagram was very much targeted during the war. So I was doing a lot of interviews with Armenian businesses, Armenian organizations, just on Instagram Live. And every other week, I was dealing with being hacked and my Instagram being reported and being shadow banned. And I know a lot of people can relate to this. If you were active during that time, your Instagram was targeted. So with that being said, my brother actually told me, why don't you just take all these videos, download them because they're very important interviews. You are amplifying the voices of these Armenian organizations. Just download them to have them safely upload them into YouTube. It's so much harder for someone to target your YouTube and shut it down in a sense. So that's what I started doing. And then I kind of just left it alone. While I was doing that, I was already planning on coming back to Armenia because the flights were open again and the world was opening up. So I booked my flight, and on the way to Armenia, a lot of people, when I was telling them, oh yeah, I'm going to Armenia next week or in 2 weeks or whatever, they were saying, what do you mean, like, can you fly during this time, can you, how does that work, and so many questions. So I thought, you know what, let me just literally take a selfie video while I'm on the way here. So I was kind of giving updates. Okay, now I'm at this airport and this is what it looks like. Yes, this is shut down, this is open, this is the process, this is the requirement. And even the simple things is like, what's the requirement to get into Armenia, what are the visa. So I was just kind of giving an update on that. So I uploaded that video not having much expectation from that. And you notice from my videos, they're not as edited as maybe like more professional vloggers and travel vlogs. So I just put it out there. And then from there, there wasn't other questions. Okay, so did you rent a place? How does that look like? And how much do things cost nowadays? And like all these questions. So my videos are kind of the result of the questions that I'm getting asked. And instead of answering privately in my DMs, let's say one by one, there's this question. So let's put them up there and showcase what it looks like and show and tell in a sense. So that's what I started doing, kind of just documenting the day-to-day life and the little things like what's open at 7 a.m., what can you buy with 5,000 dirham, what does that look like, just to kind of also alleviate some of the maybe reservations some people have, like they want to make that step but they need the visuals to visualize themselves doing it. And I get a lot of times now people tell me in Armenia, I run into them, they said, I came here because I saw your videos. And I was like, oh great. Even my coworkers, what the first time I came to Armenia, I remember they asked me like, do you have internet there, like how are we going to keep in touch with you? I'm like, the one way to kind of remove all these, not even stereotypes because they're not even real, but speculations, is to show what life here looks like. So that's what I started doing. And then realizing that I will be kind of traveling a lot and going back to see my family, and also slowly recognizing the fact that, you know what, like we should showcase the lives of Armenians in different countries as well, in different Armenian communities around the world. So that's what I started doing when I went to Lebanon. Obviously there's a huge Armenian community there as well, so I made videos with me being there. So that's how it kind of all started. And to your point, it's a very slow growth, but I understand that, and I'm patient with that. I'm kind of working three jobs right now, to like, I'm not necessarily relying on the YouTube per se. But I also think it's great if at one point we look for YouTube for support instead of, looking for each other for support. And that would be, why not? It would be great. But it's important to kind of amplify these communities and showcase the diverse communities that we have around the world.
I think you're a victim of doing something so well because the best videos on YouTube, unfortunately, don't have as many views as the dumb videos about pranks and, unboxing things and what have you. So you're a victim of your own success. What I like about your channel, since you mentioned it, I was going to mention this as well, but you brought it up, is the videos where you're presenting life in Armenia from the perspective of a traveler or an immigrant, basically someone who is coming to the country from somewhere else and they have to figure out how life in Armenia works. Not
Mhm.
everyone has people in Armenia that they can reach out to answer questions and give advice. That's why my favorite videos are the ones where you're talking about things like how to rent an apartment in Armenia. You did a fantastic video called Ultimate Guide to Budget for Your Trip to Armenia, which I
Yeah.
think is an essential guide for anyone traveling to Armenia. You did a video about your experiences in the healthcare system in Armenia, which I thought was extremely informative. You have shown us supermarkets and food bazaar, shopping malls, restaurants, gyms, and so forth. You recently did a video with a Birthright Armenia volunteer who does not speak Armenian and is living in Gyumri with the host family.
So I actually really like the fact that you said these are your favorite videos and these are the ones you kind of highlighted, because these are the, exactly like I mentioned in the beginning, the direct result of the questions I get. So a lot of times before I go to a country, I say, what are the things that you want to see in this country, or what are the questions you have? And when I'm talking about Armenia, the top questions I have is, what should I do if I don't speak Armenian? Can I still come if I don't speak Armenian? And the other thing is, like you mentioned, is not everybody has that community. It's not everybody's in these Facebook groups, because they exist, where you get to ask questions like, hey guys, I'm looking for an apartment for this. That not everybody has access to this, specifically if it's your first time coming and you're coming for a month or you're coming for 2 weeks. And a lot of times the resources that are in Armenia are the people. So it's the word of mouth is kind of the number one thing that kind of goes here. So I decided to be the word of mouth in on behalf of the community, and just kind of say the answers that people are asking me. So I'm glad that you find these interesting, because to your point, I can't see myself necessarily filming something, one of those viral videos, or following the trends or things like that. I try to play with the YouTube algorithm as much as I can, because at the end of the day, I do want as many people to see the message that we're putting out there. It's important. But I just can't see myself kind of faking it, in a sense. Like, I need to do what I'm dedicated in doing, and then if YouTube picks it up, great, and if not, I move on to the next video. I It's rare that I look back too much to, like, how did this do, and did this do well, and why did this do this way. Like, the important part for me is to say the messaging and put it out there, and then whoever's looking and searching for it, hopefully YouTube will show it to them.
I think we also need to acknowledge that not everyone has traveled to Armenia recently.
Hmm.
If someone has been to Armenia 10 years ago or even 20 years ago or never, it's not the same Armenia today as it was. And that's just how it is around the world. Communities change. And
Yep.
so the things that you can expect to see in Armenia today were just not there 20 years ago.
Absolutely. There are some things that will surprise you very pleasantly. Like, there are some technology here that I don't like, I've never seen, and maybe I'm not very tech savvy, I don't know. But for me, for example, the whole QR code payment system of like Ethereum, and this is not a plug, this is not an ad, but you literally get your receipt and you just scan it and you pay and it's done, and you don't even, and like, there's credit cards. Like, people ask me, are there credit cards? And I'm like, yes, there's credit cards, there's banks, there's all of it. So it changes even for me, that I come to Armenia like for a year, 2 years at a time, and go back for a couple of months. I come back and things are changed. So just imagine if you haven't been here for a while, you will be pleasantly surprised.
Eric Hakopian was actually saying the same thing as well. He said the questions that I get from Armenians in the diaspora are just incredible. But honestly, I don't blame people for
Not at
asking
all.
those questions, because I was in Armenia 20 years ago in 2000, and it was just radically different at that time in terms of what was available and what there was in, let's say, 2010, and then today. you know Armenia has progressed in such a rapid way. It really is an incredible success story.
I agree. Yeah. And I think, and that's the thing, we can't approach these questions in a form of blaming or shaming. And that's why when I get these questions, my reaction is to make a video because I can't blame you for not knowing something if there's no exposure about it. So what I take on is, and I know it's a drop in a bucket, the exposure that I'm kind of giving. And I think to your point, if we all do it, and I love it when people are here, no matter for how long, for whatever reason, because everybody's experience of visiting Armenia would look different, and I think it should be that way. Not, we shouldn't have identical experiences of coming to Armenia. So I think every time people come and they're filming everything and they're putting up in their Instagram stories, all of our platforms matter, and I think it's important to document those and share it to the world. I know so many people who actually their Instagram accounts were not even active before coming to Armenia. They come in there, they feel the sense of duty, like I need to share back, even if I have 3 followers or 3,000 followers or 300,000 followers. I need to post a story about what the day to day life looks like. And you would be surprised with the decor of the cafes and the amount of services and the diversity of things that exist. So the only thing I can do is just show. I can't, nobody can shame anybody for asking a question, because it's the same for me if I haven't been to a different country and maybe I'll have these types of questions. So that's all we can do.
And that's why your videos are so amazing, because you can see these things. Pictures worth a thousand words, as they say.
Yeah.
So what are some of your favorite videos that you have done?
So it's actually very interesting you asked that, because I always think about that. For me, it's when I'm filming something, usually I don't expect that it will, like, more people will watch it. These, and like the more simple ones, like the what's open at 7 a.m. is my most viewed video. That morning I woke up very early. It was like 5:30 a.m. Went for my run, came back. I'm like, since I'm up now, I should go film this, because I know a lot of people ask that. And that took me not as long to film, not as long to edit. And it ended up being something that people found useful. I got that kind of fulfillment from it more. And then there are the ones where I'm doing like an adventure. I really enjoy actually filming those, and I would think that more people would watch it, and they end up not really watching it as much, which is totally fine, like I was saying. But I also enjoy doing these as well. So and also being vulnerable. I enjoy being vulnerable with the community that we're creating on YouTube. So when I did the zip lining, I'm terrified of heights. So I did it and I recorded me being scared and doing it and getting through it, just to show the landscape in Armenia. So for me, when I finished filming that, even before I put it up and uploaded it on YouTube and people watched it, I was like, I did this and I was vulnerable with the community, and they're going to get to see that side of me. So I get kind of like a different sense of fulfillment from each video that I do.
I watched the What's Open at 7 a.m. video, and I thought it was amazing. And of course, the title draws you in because you're thinking, what is open early in the morning in Armenia? And it was a fantastic video.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You traveled to Syria despite the civil war. So, what was that experience like for you to travel to Aleppo after all of the devastation caused by the war?
So for me, obviously, it was very important to go back to Syria after 10 years of not being there. And obviously, that's where I grew up. And the one thing that was really important for me to be aware of emotionally was that at one point, I didn't know what to expect before I went there emotionally. And when I got there, I realized that it's not like Patil, the Armenian Traveler, there anymore. It's just Patil. Like I had to just be me. And obviously, there were a lot of unexpected tragical things that happened to me on a personal level when I was there. So I put the camera away, and that's where my focus was. But what I kind of compared it to, in a sense, before I went was when I went to Lebanon. So obviously, they also had a tragedy back in August of 2020, and I went there in 2021 June, I believe it was. And even though, and I consider Lebanon a second home for me. We used to go there every weekend when we were kids, and from Syria we had family there. So I still, in a sense, had that hat on of having this duty to report back what's going on with the Armenian businesses, and feeling the sense of hope and camaraderie with them when I see the smile on their faces, and showing like the best burger spot owned by an Armenian business, and all of these things. With Armenia, I was going to say, with Syria, I thought it might be similar to that, but when I got there it wasn't. So I had to really take a moment and soak it in, and be present in the moment to see what it was. And I was mentioning that, our house that has been there for 10 years, and I haven't, walked into my childhood bedroom. So just to kind of get through that experience and relive those moments, and kind of take care of family in that sense, in like family and personal matters, that's when it kind of all took a turn for me. And I was saying, not to mention the lack of internet that I had. So, with all that being said, I am going to go back. I'm just working out the financial and the logistics aspects of things to plan my visit back, because there are direct flights from Armenia now, which is great. So, I can easily go and come back, and kind of this time around do a more of a the Armenian traveler, going and showing people my childhood school and childhood home, maybe do a little tour and what everything looks like. There are still a lot of Armenian businesses that it's important for us to support.
Your videos are always beautiful and interesting in a really authentic, experiential way. When you're walking on the street in your videos, you're immersed in the life of wherever you are, and I feel like I'm right there with you. I want to talk about the power of video because showing people something has the greatest impact, as you have said. This is something that happens often where there will be an issue that exists for many years and no one is paying attention to it. Then it becomes the subject of a compelling documentary or a movie, and all of a sudden everyone is talking about it. This is why Kirk Krikorian thought that there should be an epic big budget movie about the Armenian genocide. Because he was the owner of MGM movie studio for many years, he understood the power of film to reach people around the world. You are showing the people the things that make Armenia great, and of course, the other Armenian communities around the world, which most Armenians have not seen.
I definitely agree with the fact that showing is better than telling, in a sense. So why not do both at the same time, where we're showing and talking at the same time? With the, uh, sh- none of the places where I'm filming are sets. Everything is, whether it's a business, whether it's an adventure, whether it's a city that I'm showing, or part of the city. It's always kind of, it's showing real people walking behind me, and a lot of times you see people looking in the camera and everything. The reason why I enjoy the YouTube aspect of it is that it becomes this library. The way YouTube works and the algorithm of YouTube works, it's not, let's say, if I made a post on Instagram a year ago, it's disappeared. No one will search it, no one will see it again, unless I keep talking about that aspect. With YouTube, what I really enjoy, that it stays there. And let's say maybe someone is not even thinking about Armenia right now, whether they're Armenian or not Armenian. There's a lot of people that also watch my channel that are not Armenians, that are just looking for the next place to travel. They just, they're just searching things, and one thing leads to another with YouTube. That's the interesting part, is that it suggests your content. And then you see this Armenian flag on the thumbnail, and you're like, what is this place? What is this? And they start looking, and they become a part of that community. And a lot of them now are saying, now Armenia is the next place that I'm going to be traveling. So, with that being said, that's what I liked about the power of YouTube, and how it kind of keeps this. It's a library, but it's not really a library. It's a library that is timeless, in a sense where whenever, sometimes you see one video is not a lot of people are interested, and they're not watching it right now, and then a year later that video becomes out of nowhere popular, because for some reason people are searching that. So it's kind of cool for me to kind of get like all the answers to all the questions that I can think of someone that might search for about Armenia or Armenian communities, and leave it there, and not worry about the timelessness of it, I guess. So it's there, so that's what I really enjoy about it. And I think that it gives us the exposure that we really need, and the informative exposure that we really need in terms of having the awareness.
Exactly right. And that brings me to my next question, which is that I want to talk about the enormous power and reach of social media, which includes YouTube. And
Mhm.
people may not know these statistics, so I just want to mention them. YouTube has 14.3 billion visits a month from 1.7 billion users. That is more than Facebook, Instagram, and Wikipedia. Each user spends an average of 19 minutes a day on YouTube. 694,000 hours of video are streamed on YouTube every minute. For comparison, the largest subscription service, Netflix, has about 225 million subscribers and it streams 452,000 hours of video per minute. I think everyone realizes the power of social media to reach people directly and immediately. People are increasingly getting their news and information exclusively from social media. Even influential people and public officials who have access to traditional forms of media are communicating to the public via social media. This is why I feel that your YouTube channel is such an important and positive project because the way to reach people is YouTube and other social media. Also, there is a troubling reality today that if a person doesn't have a social media account, their voice is silent, while, for example, Azerbaijan's propaganda people are getting their negative messages out there unchallenged.
I agree with that so much, because I think we should be ahead of the game in the sense of putting the message out there and not being reactive but being proactive. And if you have something to say about Armenia, and you have like this beautiful thing you want to show, or just a really real life day-to-day thing that you want to showcase, or talk about or amplify the Armenian communities, just put it all out there. And that's how YouTube, and like I was saying, at the kind of coming back into full circle of how YouTube, my YouTube channel started, was because I wanted to save these videos in a place where it's not as easily going to be shut down or reported or flagged or shadow banned or whatever. So that's how, just putting, it's a bit more secure in that sense. So just having them there, and whenever someone thinks about searching of something, it's there to see. Because the number of messages we have about Armenia out there, when you search Armenia to get down to the day-to-day types of things, it's, there's a lot of other news, there's a lot of political news, there's a lot of news that other parties have put out there. So it's important for us to also speak our mind. And to your point, it is unfortunate that if you don't have the social media platform, I would say YouTube is much more accessible in the sense of what you search to look for, and all of that. But I also respect the choice that some people don't want to be on social media. And I, in a private matter, I don't speak as much on social media, but for me it's more about what the platform presents, and the platform is the community that we're gathering together with all the audience that is there.
I also think that, for example, let's say if there's a media company in Armenia that says, Patil Toutounjian, we've seen your YouTube channel. You obviously have enormous talent. We'd like to offer you a job for you to be one of our presenters and work for us full time. I really think that, again, it's an unfortunate position to be in that the world is in right now, but it is what it is. And we have to work with the reality of the situation, in that social media is just completely dominating the conversation and the culture. And I think that you would be better off, being on YouTube than and continuing your channel rather than taking, as I said, hypothetically a job with a traditional media company, because traditional media companies are taking their content to YouTube.
That's actually interesting you say that. I've noticed that more and more. But even with that said, for me, my YouTube needs to be my perspective on the day-to-day life of someone who's like a solo traveler to these places and visiting to these places and giving my personal opinion. So I need to keep that authentic part of it. So even when it becomes to the financial aspects of life, I choose the projects that I do very carefully, things that I'm aligned with, and feel authentic in doing. And even if I have a job, as they say, 9 to 5 in the US, but here it's 10 to 7. Even if it's a 10 to 7 job that I have, which I currently do work for an organization, Hike Armenia, as you mentioned in the beginning, it's something that I do believing in it. I don't, it's important for me to see you're spending 9 hours working on a project and trying to push an organization to get more awareness and like get more people involved and grow a community. It needs to be a community that I'm aligned with, and it needs to be a community that has the same what's the word I'm looking for? Same purpose in a sense, which is promoting Armenia. So whether that's from a hiking perspective, whether that's from a volunteering perspective with Birthright Armenia, whether it's, my personal YouTube channel with the traveling aspect of things, at the end of the day, they all kind of come to this kind of, they have a mutual ground, and Tatik Streetwear is the same way. So I do feel that even though I'm working on multiple projects at the same day, I'm going to bed thinking, what can I do to empower the Armenian community? And when I come up with an idea, I see which project that I'm working on, where does it fit the most, and then I imply it there. So that needs to, I need to stay authentic to that part of me, because that's why I kind of left my 9 to 5 job in Canada to come here and work on these things. So I understand that financially sometimes you kind of take a step back, you take a step forward, it fluctuates, but at the end of the day, for me personally, I realized that I need to have a purpose and work towards that purpose to feel fulfilled and go to bed being like, okay, I did this today, instead of, kind of checking off something the list. So it's something off the list.
You said something in one of your videos that really resonated with me, because it's something that other people are saying as well. And this is a major conversation that is happening in the Armenian communities around the world right now. And what you said was that every person should be Armenian in their own way. But at the same time, you also said that you believe that people should have a daily relationship with their Armenian culture and their Armenian heritage. So,
Mhm.
if you could elaborate on that for us.
Yeah, so I think defining what Armenianness, if that's even a word, looks like for you, it's not this package that you get and you cannot change it, and it's not flexible. And you go to an art gallery today in Armenia and you see different artists, and painting Armenia, you can give them the same corner, or the same saying, like paint Gyumri, for example, and you already see, if there's 5 artists, you see 5 different perspectives. So I think it's important to have your own definition of what that looks like for you, and respecting the diversity we have in the community. And this is something I was saying during the war as well, because I was doing probably 3 to 4 Instagram interviews on a day-to-day basis, and you see people, like I mentioned, right now I got to experience being Syrian Armenian, and then I got to experience being in Canada, Canadian Armenian, I guess, and now I'm in Armenia. So I've experienced like 3 different types of being Armenianness and what that looks like in your day-to-day life. Realizing that it's important to have it in your day-to-day life, and it's okay for each of our Armenianness to look different to each other, and respecting that diversity. Today, if you bring 5 Armenians in a room, I cannot even tell you how many languages could be spoken in that room, and using that to our advantage. What can we do to use that to our advantage? I go before I came to, like, when I went to Canada, when I used to say I speak three and a half languages, not good in French, but three languages, 3 different alphabets, they would say, "Oh my God, that's amazing! That's great! That's a lot of languages." You come to Armenia, and the average person speaks 4 to 5 languages. You're like, "Oh, okay, that wasn't even, I guess, that big of a deal." You mentioned the playing of the chess. I thought that was one of my, personality, like that's what defined me in a sense for a very long time. That was what I did. I played chess. And in Armenia, oh, everybody plays chess. And just being understanding that everyone has their different hobbies, their different interests, their different exposed to different cultures, have traveled to different places, and using those differences to our advantage and not to divide us. I think that's kind of the message that I always try to say.
That's absolutely wonderful. And of course, it's something that we should acknowledge that you, at your young age, have already lived in three different Armenian communities in three different countries that are very different from each other. You know,
Mhm.
it was Syria and then Canada and then Armenia. And I was thinking about how different these Armenian communities and countries are from each other, and so you have those amazing experiences.
Growing up in Syria, in that Armenian community that was very much kind of in a bubble, like I was mentioning, it was a privilege to me that I got to grow up in that very strong Armenian community, and I got to see this one way of being Armenian in a sense. And then I went to Canada and got to see that way of being Armenian. And then when I came to Armenia, and the first second I landed and I went to that Birthright Armenia orientation, in the way they do it is just so interesting. Even in the orientation, they ask you to tell a joke to just break the ice. And just from hearing the different jokes that the people hear, you realize that if you have five people in this room, there's five very different stories, and we all ended up in this room.
I like to end interviews with the question that inspires people to take action. You're currently working for an organization called Hike Armenia, as we mentioned. I think Armenia is the perfect country for hiking because it's mountainous. The nature of Armenia is stunningly beautiful, and there are ancient cultural heritage sites that are only accessible by hiking. Can you tell us what Hike Armenia does?
So the main mission of Hike Armenia is to make Armenia a premier hiking destination. So what the organization does, it's an NGO, and it's a non-for-profit organization, and the mission of it is to actually create trails. They like scoping out the trails that have these kind of eco-touristic, I don't want to say package, but experience in a sense, and create the trails in these places, maintain the trails, and creating a trail has a lot more to it, a lot more goes to it than people can maybe think about or imagine. And marking the trails according to world standards marking, and then what that kind of so then tying it in into the sites that are connected to that trail. So whether it's churches or cultural sites, along with accommodations or places to stay. So it's kind of like connecting you to let you know, okay, if you're going on this hike, there's these places that you can stay in. So from that, there's a free app that anybody can download, and in there it shows you there's filters. So let's say if you're a beginner hiker and you just want to go on a day hike, or maybe you just have the weekend or one day off from if you're working in Armenia or if you're traveling to Armenia, and you have one day hike, you can do a day hike, or you can do a loop hike, or you can do a 5 day hike. So there's different options by filtering the regions. You find the perfect trail for you, and you just kind of save that trail. You can even download it on as an offline in case, let's say, you're not going to have data when you're out in the hiking on the trail. So you can download it to have the offline version, and you go on a hike and you explore Armenia in a very different way. So not just Yerevan, but it really gives you that access, that resource to get out of Yerevan and going to different places, different regions, and exploring them. It shows you per trail, it shows you how to get there, because that's another kind of sometimes it's hard to find that information, like which bus I should take, which taxi I should take, and how long it gets to take there. So it has all that information, the description per trail, and what to see per trail, and what to expect. And so it just kind of allows you to explore Armenia in a sense.
I think Hike Armenia is an amazing organization because, again, it's all about promoting the beauty of Armenia and the beautiful natural resources that Armenia has. I think, bottom line, if you're a hiker, you should be hiking in Armenia.
Exactly. And one thing that a lot of time, like people ask us, like, when can I hike this trail, or when can I hike that trail? The honest answer is you can hike it anytime, because that's the whole purpose of the app, is for you to hike it at your convenience. So it's you, your app. If you want to invite your friends, go for it. Sometimes I personally like to hike by myself. I like to be out there in the nature by myself and just kind of absorb the different elements. And everybody has different work schedule, everybody has different schedule of how long they're visiting Armenia, for how long they're here, why are they here, and when can they go on a hike. So that's it, you just download the app. And we were talking to this hiker that came in with his wife to Armenia and hiked for many of the trails actually. And his kind of slogan for it was that just call a taxi and go on a hike. And I really liked it because that's exactly what it is. You just call a taxi or however you're going to get there, and then you just go on the hike.
Our viewers can visit the Tatik Streetwear website to purchase unique Armenian themed clothing that is designed by Armenian artists. I highly recommend Patil's YouTube channel called The Armenian Traveler. It's incredible that the channel started in 2021, and in that relatively short period of time, you have produced such a variety of high quality, interesting videos that show the places you have traveled, interesting people that you have interviewed, life in Armenia, and so much more.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. And just putting it into numbers and hearing you describe it, it makes me very happy because that's exactly what I kind of envision, and it makes me happy that it is being perceived in that way, and people are finding it useful and also hopefully enjoying it.
Patil, thank you for joining us today. I also want to thank our viewers for watching.
It's my absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for all the viewers as well.
My guest today is Patil Toutounjian, creator of the Armenian Traveler YouTube channel and the founder of Tatik Streetwear, joining us today from Yerevan, Armenia.